Our colleague Dennis Aseto is bringing you an exclusive interview tonight, sitting down with the governor of Bungoma, Honorable Ken Lusaka. It's very good to see you. It's been a long day, Dennis Aseto. We appreciate you coming this far. We're looking forward to what the governor is going to be saying. Was it a successful Madaraka? I'm exiting the studios, but I'm sure this mantle is one you can handle. Good evening, Aseto.
And very well, good evening and many thanks for watching KTN News. We are coming to you live from County 039, Bungoma County, as we continue with the coverage of the county focus of this county. We have been pitching camp here for 2 days now. Today we celebrated Madaraka Day celebrations in this county, and Kenyans did not disappoint. The locals here came in their fashion, dressed to their teeth in order to celebrate the day. Remember, it is the 61st Madaraka Day celebrations for the country, but the very first for Bungoma County. And yes, they came out, including the leadership, to be able to experience these days. The governor says the next time these might come back here is in 2071, but that is not me to say. On set with me is Bungoma Governor Ken Lusaka. He is a man who has been here before, from the county to the Senate and back to the county. This man, he is an alumni of Kamusinga High School. Today he says that he was supporting a team. We shall find out which one, because we also had a march after the Madaraka Day celebrations. Bwana Governor, welcome on set, and I see you address the part donning the Kenyan flags. Karibu sana, as we have this discussion. The stadium today has seen a lot of funds go into that. How much has the county spent on that, and what's the significance? How important is it for Masinde Muliro Stadium Kandui to be where it is?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to Kenyans. First, I want to really thank the people of Bungoma for turning out in large numbers. I want to thank all Kenyans who came to Bungoma. Bungoma, the last 1 week, has been a beehive of activities, and we really want to thank them and thank God that we ended the Madaraka Day celebrations, did not have any incident at all. For Masinde Muliro Stadium to be where it is, first of all, it was done in two phases. Phase one was started by the county government, and so far we have spent over 600 million shillings to be able to put up the pavilion. It was started during the last regime. I came and continued with what was remaining. When I came in, it was about 60% done, but we have done to what you see today. Then the national government did phase two, which was putting up now the other terraces, and that was done in a record of about 2 months. In fact, that has never happened, but some good work has been done, and they have also spent, well, maybe I can't speak for them, but I know it's over 600 million. The president did mention yesterday in his speech when he was going around how much they have spent. But that is not even all, because we are yet to put the canopy, because we are looking at a stadium that will be able to host international matches. We are looking at CHAN. We're also looking at AFCON in 2027. So we want to put it up to standard. If you notice also today, that the surface, the grass, did not pick very well. So that's one area that we are going to do. And then also complete the changing rooms and everything else. But otherwise, like you saw, it's a stadium that has potential to even beat Nyayo Stadium and Kasarani. We'll not be having Harambee Stars playing in Malawi as their home ground. In fact, we already have the Harambee Starlets who would want to use this facility when we play Burundi. So once we do one or two things, we should be able to do that. So just to answer you, that's what we have spent as a county government, and that is what I think the national government has also spent.
And the president today in his speech alluded to the fact that, and even gave a warning to those who have grabbed land around the stadium, and that goes to show that it is not only a problem that exists here, but it's a problem that does exist across the country. So in terms of moving forward, and even the president saying that the military will be here to make sure that the continuous development of the stadium continues. In the next few days now, the county, because the land belongs to the county, now what's the next phase of that?
Even for us to be able to do what we did we had to move some people who had already encroached. We had to bring down some buildings of people who had encroached in the stadium. And there's still people around the stadium because that land was quite big. So like the president has directed, I think we will swing into action to ensure that any land, once we establish the boundaries, the proper boundaries of the stadium, anybody who is still within the stadium will have to move. We would be advising them because normally we don't just wake up and bring down buildings, but they will be advised to move because that's not their land. Or if they have any documentation, they will be able to show the document. So that's a directive that the president has given. But again, it should also serve all other people because there was a task force that was formed by the former governor to establish and identify all land that had been grabbed by people. So we'll also be tabling that report to the county assembly for approval. Once it's approved, it will also guide us in getting back all land that has been grabbed so that we end this impunity of people encroaching on public land. And you go and put up something knowing very well that that land does not belong to you. So that impunity must be addressed once and for all.
And the coming of Madaraka Day to this county has also seen an airstrip that has been renovated, and the president also touched on that, saying that he will invest more, the county will buy more land, and he will be in charge of extending the runway. So in terms of the airstrip being here, and for the people of Bungoma being able to just take the drive to the airstrip and fly to Nairobi or whatever it is they want to go, how will that open up the county in terms of the economy and also just the ease of movement in the county?
I also want to really thank the president because, again, that was rehabilitated in record time. Took about 3 months to get a new runway redone, recarpeted. As we speak now, it is 1.1 kilometer. We need 1.5 to be able to carry, to get even an Embraer aircraft like the KQ, the Jumbo. But as it is now, smaller aircraft that carry about 35 people can land there. And you saw military aircrafts and even private aircraft landed there. So I'm going to embark immediately on negotiations with the people around the airport or the airstrip to give us land. We'll compensate them, we'll negotiate and see how much we can pay to acquire that land so that we build a terminal. Like the president said, he builds a terminal, and there's already a sketch map of what that airport will look like. And you remember, I did propose to him, and he didn't refuse that maybe that will be the first project that will be named after him, just to remember what he has done for us. So I'm going to move with speed, and I know he's a man of his words, that he will also honor what he has said, and that will really open up this area. I can tell you for sure that this would be the airport of choice, because we have Trans Nzoia, we have Kakamega, but when we talk to the aviation people, they think that Matulo is a better place in terms of takeoff and landing. Kitale, because of the altitude, and Kakamega again, the airport, the airstrip is right. You fly on top of the forest, Kakamega forest, which is not very safe because of birds and those kind of things. So this is going to be the airport of choice. Again, we are strategically placed because even people going to Uganda, say Tororo, Mbale, it will be easier to come from Nairobi, land here and proceed than landing in Kisumu or any other place, then you go to Entebbe. So it's a very strategic infrastructure that we will be looking forward to having it completed as quickly as possible. That will also, we have not even looked at cargo. For example, when we are encouraging our people in agriculture to grow avocado, to grow other crops, cotton, coffee, tea, we should be able to have all this transported or flown from Matulo to other destinations in the world. So this is a very strategic infrastructure that the national government has come in to sort out, and on our part, we are going to sort out the issue of land, just like the president has mentioned in his speech.
And this county is synonymous as being one of the most agricultural counties. And even today, in Madaraka Day celebrations, it was all about agriculture and food security. And as we talk about that, the president alluded to the fact that 117 billion shillings have been set aside to write off the debt for the sugar sector and the coffee sector. And as we talk about it, also the fact that farmers need to be paid. And he said that for us to be able to revive the sugar sector, and Nzoia Sugar and other sugar factories, there is need for these debt to be paid. Now, in terms of these sectors being enhanced by the national government together with the county government, how important is that for the farmers who are residents here, who have lived with their money is not being paid for a very long time?
Nzoia Sugar has been the backbone of our economy in terms of cash crop. Many people have gone to school because of Nzoia. Many people have done many other things because of sugarcane growing. But at some point, when Nzoia started going down because of management and all those kind of issues, you realize that farmers are not being paid, workers are not being paid, and it's 98% owned by government. So the question that the president has been asking all along is, if you have taken sugarcane, you have crushed sugar, you sold this sugar, how come, where did this money go to? How come, despite doing all these things, you're not paying the workers, you're not paying the farmers? So there must be a problem with especially management. That has been his biggest problem. And you remember even last time, he brought ADC tractors and NYS to come and assist, because Nzoia has the biggest nucleus in Kenya, 14,000 acres, which has not been properly utilized. So if that nucleus alone is developed, and that's what the president even talked of, having set aside money for Ken development. If that nucleus is properly utilized, it should be able, they will not need even an out-grower. It can sustain Nzoia sugar. So what he said today, which I think is important, that's a conversation that we have been having, although, of course, when you're having something like that, not everybody will support it when you're talking about the leasing model. So he's saying we want to look at what is the best model. Are we just going to say, oh, Nzoia is ours, we don't want Nzoia to go anywhere, and yet you are not able to pay farmers, you are not able to pay the workers, and yet private sugar factories like Naitiri and Butali are paying, and West Kenya are paying their farmers. So there must be a problem, and this is a problem he has said he wants to fix. If he fixes it, because a lot of people are now again going into sugarcane farming, but they are growing sugarcane and selling to Naitiri and other factories. So unless we fix Nzoia, then it's going to be a big challenge, and that's what he wants to fix. He wants to get a model, because for me, and I think that is where he also stands, that for him, what is most important is for the farmer to be paid and the worker to be paid. And like he has said, then a farmer can be able to be paid, just like it happens in tea. You can get a bonus at the end of the year. That is what he's looking at, and even me will really be advocating that a quick solution should be found to sort out Nzoia.
And in that conversation, we'll just have that conversation now. It is a question of do we lease it, do we take it back to the government? And it's a question that farmers and Kenyans have really also come up saying, opposing pretty much that model. So therefore, as these conversations start, how is the county government having such conversations, public participation, so that everyone is on board on the final decision that will be made?
We have had a public participation. We have held our first meeting. We narrowed down to a smaller group because, again, you may find people who are making a lot of noise, people who are arguing, don't even own sugarcane. They don't come from a sugarcane growing area. They're just adding what we would call nuisance value. So what we need is to get a smaller team of real people, the real stakeholders, the workers, the farmers, and any other interested parties, so that then we look at this thing realistically. First of all, let's remove politics from it, because the moment we put politics into Nzoia, then we will not fix the problem. Let's look at it from an economic point of view. What does the farmer want? And I've said the farmer wants to be paid. You deliver your sugarcane, you are paid within 1 week or even 3 days. The worker is paid at the end of the month. That is all he works. It doesn't matter who is paying him. I think, to me, that is what is important. But some of us are just arguing for the sake of it, having sentimental reasons why you want to have, for example, that thing, like people say, pen and paper is ours. And you're just looking at it, it's not adding any value, it's not doing anything to you. So are you happy just looking at it there, or is there something that you can do to make it better? I think that's a conversation that we should be having.
And today, the president also commissioned the agripreneurs, around 18,000 agripreneurs who will go to several counties to sell this agenda of food security and agriculture. We know that president also alluded to the fact that climate change is here and is ravaging this country real bad. Now, as we talk about the agripreneurs being here to be able to champion the government's agenda, how important are they? And are we bringing back the extension officers that were there, the 4K clubs that used to exist back in the days?
That is actually where we should go. Ideally, agriculture is a devolved function, and most governments, because of the money, the problem of not having adequate funding, most counties, including in Bungoma, we have not hired enough extension officers, and that extension is very, very important in agriculture. They're talking about extension and research is very important. You remember those many days when we were growing up, we had these extension officers who used to have khaki khaki, jackets written on, agricultural officer or something like that for identification. So I think this is just coming in to complement what the counties are doing, because we need extension. Like we give subsidized fertilizer, but again, you give somebody fertilizer and they don't use it correctly. So you need somebody to be able to follow up, to know that they're applying the fertilizer well, they're applying the seeds that you have given them well, and therefore getting the results that you desire. Otherwise, that sector died. It's a good idea, and we're looking forward to having them to complement what the counties are already doing, because agriculture is very key, and the president is very passionate about agriculture. That's why you find, and I think he has that background, having been a minister for agriculture at one point. That's why, when he came in, immediately he talked about subsidized fertilizer, because he wants the farmers to afford the inputs. And then he has also, he said we are not going to subsidize, we are going to subsidize production, not the other way around. And that is where he has now gotten it right, and we really need to support him on that.
Yeah, and as we talk still about agriculture, there is the subsidized fertilizer, and there is the big elephant in the room, the fake fertilizer. Yeah. I mean, in this county that is big on agriculture, as a county, how many of your farmers were affected, and in terms of them getting compensation and being helped to move forward, where are you with that?
I think I never heard of any farmer was affected in Bungoma. I only heard about it in Kakamega, and it was not even, it was not, okay, the media or whatever called it fake. But again, we are talking about maybe fertilizers that did not meet the standards, the standards that are required, because, there's a formulation kind of thing, so you need to get certain percentages right. So there's that fertilizer that found its way to the market, and I think they are dealing with it. But in Bungoma, we were not affected. Of course, we don't support anything that is going to affect the production in the field. So that issue should be dealt with, and I think it's an isolated case. I've never understood why that happened. For example, if you ask yourself, why would somebody package, soil or something that is not fertilizer to sell to the farmers? Either you want to sabotage a national program that is going on the subsidized fertilizer, or you have just another motive which we don't understand. But in Bungoma, we were not affected.
Cotton farming being reintroduced, also going big on tea and coffee. These are some of the traditional crops that come from these region. In terms of just being diverse on the kind of crops that we have in this county, how is that coming along?
Cotton farming is being reintroduced, but the uptake by the farmers in Bungoma is still low. They used to farm cotton, especially in the areas of Malakisi. We even had Malakisi Ginnery. But when it collapsed, I think the farmers got so discouraged. Like recently, about 2 months ago, we got 11 tons of cotton seed, which we should be able to plant in about 8,000 acres. But again, like I said, the uptake is very low. I think once bitten, twice shy. So we really need to do a lot of sensitization to get back people to cotton farming. It's a good thing. It has picked. You can't compare Bungoma and Busia and Homa Bay. There it has really picked, but for us, it's still low. So we're going to do a lot of sensitization, especially in those areas like I've mentioned, Malakisi, Luandanyi area in Sirisia constituency, and maybe part of Bumula.
And I want us to talk about healthcare in the county. And yesterday I happened to have a conversation with the superintendent, the referral hospital, and also the CO in the county. And one of the issues that they raised in terms of healthcare in the region, in the county, is whilst you boast of a good infrastructure that have been put in place, more need to be done. There's things to do like ICUs, ICT scan machines, are things that are needed in the county. In terms of getting these in the county, where are we in making sure that the citizens of the county are and further, because I made to understand that you also have citizens that come from neighboring counties. Where are we making sure that these hospitals are ready for the citizens when they need the services?
Yeah, the infrastructure is there, and like you have said, I think Medicare is not about the infrastructure per se. Because you could have a big facility like the one we have, the 300-bed capacity, but it's not yet even equipped. So I think it's the equipment, like we're talking about the CT scan, you're talking about there's a CT scan and the MRI machines. I think the national government of that leasing agreement, the lease equipment, which turned out to be a bit of a scam, But we need those machines in the healthcare. Again, when it comes to the budget, you find that health, for example, takes a very huge percentage of the budget, but most of it again goes into personnel and personal emolument, salaries and that kind of thing, because we have so many staff who go up to the dispensary level. So we were discussing with my CEC health and the team that we may need to change the model. We may have to maybe engage some good partners who can give us those equipment, and we agree on a payment model, because I don't foresee with the money, the shareable revenue that we have and the on-source revenue that we are generating, that money will be allocated to go and purchase those machines at the expense of, for example, also taking care of the dispensaries, because we're talking about, there's something that we learned to call the Lusaka care, which makes it it's like universal health care. We want to make everybody right up to the dispensary level get medication, so that we decongest the referral hospital, so that the referral hospital becomes a real referral hospital. We don't want somebody with the flu or malaria to come all the way from Luandani or Kimilili to come and get medication here at the Bungoma Referral Hospital. Those issues should be sorted out down there. So that is where we are focusing on, that we want to improve the infrastructure and also equip basic things like, what the HCPs are doing, the health community health providers are doing, that they can be able to check your blood, to check your temperature, take note of small things that can be handled. Then let the bigger things now be handled by the dispensary, the health facility, then eventually before you end up at the referral. So we are on top of things. We are trying our level best to see how we can address that issue in health, because health is important. If we don't have a healthy community, then you can forget about roads, you can forget about agriculture, because there will be nobody to use those other things. So it is very critical.
And the health sector has recently experienced pretty much the go slow by health workers, and this was the longest we've ever experienced in this country. And Bungoma County was not salvaged as well. And as we have these discussions with the healthcare workers in terms of what it is they are demanding, proper equipment in hospitals, where are the engagements as we speak?
I think next time, in my own opinion, health, is also a devolved function. So I would rather, if we have an issue like what we had, let each county deal with its own issues. Because some counties like Bungoma, a lot of those things that were being raised had been dealt with. When I came in, I put on P&P over 235 medical workers who had been just on contracts, some who had been on temporary employment. So I confirmed them, and then there are those that we are going to promote. We have over 200 medical officers, medics who are waiting to be promoted. That one is in the pipeline. So when we have an issue like this and this devolved function, let each county deal with it. Because again, what happens is, even areas where the problem doesn't exist, they are threatened by the national office, the union, who move around threatening them that we are going to do this to you. So people down the tools, not because they want to do so, but just in solidarity with the union and other areas where where things have not been done. So I think that next time we need to handle it in a better way, so that we don't get the strike taking longer than what happened this year. I know when there's a strike, a lot of we may even lose lives, or people get very stranded, and it's not a very good scenario to observe.
And clinical officers and also lab technicians are currently on a go slow. Are you having engagements with them, and what's the progress, so that the people of Bungoma County know the progress?
Yeah, the discussions are ongoing. Luckily, my CEC is a medical doctor, so he has been engaging them to see how we can deal with it, and I don't think it is out of control. I'm sure we should be able to get a solution out of it, because the reports I'm getting is that there's very good progress, and very soon they should be able to strike a balance. And like when the medical doctors came into an agreement and they ended the strike, I think it also has a positive impact, because it shows that nothing cannot be sorted out. When people sit to discuss, dialogue is very important, so that you can they explain their side of the story. We also tell them our side of the story and tell them this is the way it is. Because if you are demanding, for example, you want this and it's not possible to get it. You should be able to be realistic. At the end of the day, what creates a problem is when there's no dialogue, when we are not talking, or instead of talking to each other, we are talking at each other, then that creates a problem.
And Governor, yesterday I had a conversation with one of the residents here, and one of the concerns is at times we'd go to the hospital and there are no drugs, or you get there and pretty much the number of medical officers who are there to serve at the time, the numbers are minimal. So is it a question of budget? Is it a question of supply from where you get the medicine? Where is the challenge?
It's a budget. The budget is really, budget looks very big when it's on paper. Say Bungoma gets 11 billion shillings, it's on paper, it looks a lot of money. But when you break it down, you go to, out of, for example, we're getting maybe a monthly shareable revenue of 900,000. So when you remove 400 to pay salaries, you remain with another 400, then you know that statutory deductions. Now we have to pay for example, lab fund, lab trust, all those. When you remove, what remains now to be shared is like maybe 100 million or 200 million. Then there are competing interests. Roads say we want to fix roads. Water, we say we want to fix water. We have scholarships, we have bursaries now in education. So trying to balance all these things, you realize that then you don't have enough money to be able to fix all those things. But one way that we are trying to address it as a county is to increase our own source revenue. That's going to be the saving soul for most counties, because if we increase the own source revenue, then our share will go up. And why I want to do that, I'm really insisting on automation. Like in health, we are going to launch a health management system, which will be able to monitor everything that happens in health. Well, if drugs have come, you can be able to be traced, and I can be able to see, even when I'm out of the country, that there's a problem here. When we also automate, for example, our transport system, we'll be able to know who has parked where, what is going on generally on a dashboard. I can be able to see that, so that you minimize human beings coming in contact with money. Because I can tell you this, that during COVID, the own source revenue increased because people were not moving, and money now was being generated. There was no stealing and those kind of things. So once we seal the loopholes and raise the own source revenue, that will address a lot of the issues that we're talking about. But as it is now, with the shareable revenue that takes sometimes 3 months to get, it becomes a real challenge to implement some of these, some of the projects that we want to implement, and even to meet your targets.
And Governor, when you come back, I want us to talk about now, in terms of budgets that come to the county, the funds that you get from the national government. Is it enough? Where are we with that? With the push and pull on the over 400 billion shillings and the 380 billion shillings, why the push and pull that does exist? But that conversation, we'll have it after this short commercial break. Don't go nowhere.